And as we start, Ash is saying, "Hey, is your mic on?" It's on. Yeah, it's on. We're ready to go. Believe it or not, we are ready to go on Onorato and Miller.
Muted.
It's Chris and Ash. Oh, that would have been a problem.
Red light
there.
muted.
Yeah, not
so
good. Okay,
we'll see what happens.
Here we are. All right, live on a Thursday night for once. Chris and Ash, and we've got a lot to do on the show here on top of our guest segment, which will be MMA legend Quinton Rampage Jackson. You remember him from his UFC days? Do you remember him from playing the iconic Mr. T character of B.A. Baracus in the movie of the A-Team with Bradley Cooper and Liam Neeson?
Okay.
People watching at home, if you're thinking, I can't really picture Rampage Jackson, you will certainly recognize him when that segment comes up later on in the show. The Knicks and the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Thunder and the Wolves in the Western Conference Finals. I think the NBA playoffs have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about where we stand currently going into Memorial Day weekend. Some NFL news to talk about. The Tush Push will live on after the attempt to ban it fails at the owners' meetings. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, 78.0. We'll talk about the latest in that personal rivalry between those two teams, those two people, and an interesting coaching change with a local connection. We're doing all that on Onorato and Miller.
This is Onorato and Miller, sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Alpenhaus, Bev's, Marcella's Appliance Center, Performance Industrial, and of course, our guys over at Novice. All right, the Knicks. Look, the Knicks were the team, forging the incredible comebacks
against the Celtics
in that semifinal series against the Celtics. Exactly. Back-to-back nights or back-to-back games, back-to-back 20-point plus comebacks. Now they're the team on the wrong side of that. 17-point lead with 7 and change to go in game one, but it was still a 14-point lead just inside 3 minutes to go, which I think is really the bigger thing here. And somehow,
they're both pretty big.
Some way, that lead evaporates. Tyrese Halliburton hits an incredible shot to force overtime.
It felt
and then
pretty
the Pacers
lucky.
go on to win.
A little bit lucky.
No doubt, but
it went up and I thought, oh my God.
Yeah, and we can't show it here, but you have seen it by now or you can find it somewhere. Halliburton has done this in the past where he gets into the lane and then dribbles back out to the three-point line and launches and has made the shot in the past. So yes, there's another word for it. I'll call it gutsy for him to even attempt that shot in that moment. He thought he was attempting a game-winning shot, and everybody on the Pacers thought it went in as a game winner. His right foot toes were on the three-point line, so it forced overtime. But the emergence of some players into the national spotlight here, and Tyrese Halliburton being one of them, I think is just so good for the league. I'm a big fan of his. His dad needs a little bit of work, but I'm a big fan of his and the way he plays and how he can impact the game beyond scoring, that I think he will now kind of get a little bit of his due. Remember, he was on that Team USA roster, didn't play at all in the Olympics. But
Tatum didn't play a lot either.
How good of a player he is.
Yeah. He's been great. You talk about him. I think as much as we want to think that Jalen Brunson, but he wasn't a household name. He was a name that we knew because he played for the New York Knicks, and it's a little bit more of like a regional connection. But he's another guy who has played incredible basketball.
All
and
postseason.
The thing that I'm more impressed with Brunson is just his height, his lack of height. And he goes inside as much as anybody and is throwing them up around the trees and just like the touch and the spin and the things that he can do as a guy who has a foot deficit to pretty much everyone else inside. He's been really incredible. But Tyrese Halliburton's fun to watch. And I could have done without the Reggie Miller choke. I'm like, that's Reggie's thing. I know he's here, and you probably know he's here, and the whole thing. But like, okay, not the same.
Yeah, I'm not offended by it.
No.
It just felt like
Yeah, it's too. It was like he thought about that for. I bet you he thought about that for forever, and was like, can't wait to do that in front of Reg.
Well, he did say post game, I've seen that 30 for 30 of winning time like 50 times. And the image of Reggie doing the choke sign in Spike Lee's, focused direction, where Halliburton says he kind of did it to the fans overall. It's an iconic moment in NBA history. And so I'm with you. Like, it kind of felt like that's Reggie's thing. It's been the idea, like, it's been done before. Correct. Kind of do your own thing. But I thought Rick Carlisle's comments were appropriate at the end of the game as well. And he said, like, listen, most people in the public don't know what it's like to have fans yelling at you for the course of 3 hours, right? And then you make a shot like that, and the emotion really just kind of takes over. And so, to your point, where Halliburton may have had that pinned back in his mind somewhere, it then came out because of the emotion of that night. And so, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not offended by it. It just, I'm with you. It felt like it felt too easy to go to.
Yeah. It's Knicks Pacers.
It's game one.
Reggie's sitting there. There's nothing on the line at the moment. Like, at least wait until it's like an elimination game and you do something worthy of it.
And as every Knicks fan likes to point out, the Pacers not only lost the series where Reggie did the choke sign, they didn't win another game that series against the Knicks. So let's see how this one goes for Indiana. I would push all my chips in on the Knicks in game 2. I don't know what the number will end up being in terms of the Knicks being favored. They were 4.5-point favorites going into last night's game.
Okay.
As we talk here, I'll check to see what game 2 looks like for the next year, but I would push it 6. So that tells you Vegas knows also, right? Like, the Knicks are going to bounce back in game 2, and I would expect them to win game 2. I have one thought on the Brunson comment you made, which is so spot on. He is as broad-shouldered and broad-bodied as any point guard in the league, and he uses that to carve space. But you're right, his touch from 10 feet in is so good. Yes, he has emerged as a, I don't use superstar with a lot of, he's a star in this league. 43 in a losing effort, 7 turnovers, but he is clearly the Knicks' best player. And where does he rank in terms of a top 10? I don't know, but I think we're seeing that he can be the number one option on a championship team the way he's playing. And that's been the question about him, is like, yeah, he's really good, but can he be your number one to go win it all? Well, look how close they are already. Yeah. The answer should be yes.
Yeah, and you mentioned the turnovers. I don't have a problem. Listen, you don't want your point guard to have 7 turnovers every game. It was the moments that bothered me where he had the turnovers. Yeah. The Knicks couldn't inbound the ball late when, they're up 7, then they're up 5, then they're up 3, and you're starting to feel like, well, just get the ball in, and then they have to foul you. They can't get the ball in. And Brunson is blindly just kind of, he's going to save the ball, but he's just kind of blindly throwing it. Like, you have to make better decisions than that. And so it was those moments that bothered me most. Despite how well he played, I did think, like, God, it's really hard to blow that kind of lead that late, because at this point, they're literally going to foul you. They're going to foul you. And they couldn't even get to that point where they could get the ball in so that they could be fouled.
So let's answer the question here. Will New York overcome that collapse and win this series? Do you still think, and did you think the Knicks would win this series? Do you think they will win this series?
I mean, of course they can overcome it.
Well, that's why when I read a question, I never say can, could, because the answer should always, when you're down 3-0 and down 20 points at the half, the answer should still always be like, yeah, they could, right? We've seen weird things happen.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I think they'll overcome it. But my thing is, like, if they overcome it and tie the series at 1, if they ultimately lose the series, it's not because they collapsed in game 1. And that's where I kind of feel like, you overcome the collapse as soon as you get yourself back in the series. If they just never survive this series, then okay, they don't overcome it. So yes, I think they overcome it because I think they will win game 2. And I think they win the series, but I don't know.
I liked the Pacers at the start of the series, but I'll ask you this then. Let's say the Knicks lose in 6.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me we're not going to look back and say game 1 is if you had closed in game 1, we wouldn't be talking about you losing the series in 6, right?
Sure, I get it. Unless they take a 2-1 series lead, and then we're talking about something else, and game 1 doesn't matter anymore. And that's why I always think, like, yeah, you can ultimately everything affects the outcome.
Yeah.
Whether you blow a 17-point lead in game 1 or you lose on a buzzer beater in game 2, all of those things will ultimately affect whether you win or lose the series. But I think it becomes irrelevant if they tie the series or take the series lead. Now, stop talking about game 1 because you've evened the playing field. You've leveled the playing field. We're starting over. You know what I mean? Like, of course, if they had won the game, they would more likely win the series. But I don't know. For me, it's just it matters.
Yeah.
But if you tie it or take the series lead, I don't want to talk about game 1 anymore.
Okay. Fair enough. You think the Knicks win this series?
Yeah.
Okay. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's the MVP. Should he be? Or is this voter fatigue for Nikola Jokic?
I think it's both, but I think he should be.
Yeah,
I think he should be.
I would hedge it here and give a lame answer the same way you did to say it's both. That
if it was someone else that was playing the way Jokic was playing, I think there would have been more of a conversation. But I still think he was more than worthy of winning the MVP.
I agree. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, again, led the league in scoring, and he is clearly the best player
on the best team in the
on
West.
What was the best team in the league.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, I think twice all season lost back-to-back games. They were the best team start to finish in the NBA, and SGA is the best player on that team. And most people in America couldn't name 3 people on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And so
Chet,
he stands out as the best. And so I'm good with it. But I do think that you get people who say stuff like, well, Jokic can't win 4 MVPs. That's as many as LeBron has. Like, so what?
Yeah.
If you're the best player that season.
Yeah. We're also not, there are plenty of people who would never compare LeBron to Jokic again, because they're a different player. There are people who don't like to compare LeBron to MJ, and that's a much better comp than LeBron to Jokic.
Yeah. I think that, this also goes back to he may not be the most valuable player, but I don't think many people would push back on the idea that Jokic is the best player in the NBA. And Jokic's numbers this year were better than some of his MVP seasons.
I love when that happens, but you're comparing it to others. You're comparing it to others.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not comparing it to yourself in another season.
Right. All right, let's take a quick break here on Onorato and Miller. I want to save some time for our next topic here, and that is this rivalry that is it's not budding, it is fully in bloom. The Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese personal rivalry happening in the WNBA. And I want to ask the question, is this good for the sport, what we're seeing between these 2 star players? Back in a minute.
Grab the family and get on the water in style with a Barletta pontoon featuring the power of a Mercury outboard motor. You'll be slicing through the waves with a smoother, quieter ride, leaving you to relax and soak up the sun. Whether you're cruising with a family or tubing and skiing, Barletta and Mercury will give you the best ride on the lake. With their unmatched reliability and refined performance, Barletta and Mercury won't let anything hold you back from having a summer you'll never forget. So don't wait. Stop by Alpen House Boats and start your next adventure today. Check out our great selection on Route 30 in Amsterdam and online at alpenhouseboats.com.
I'm Jeff Ukelek. I'm owner of Bev's, and we're a beverage center in upstate New York. You're just going to have that wow component when you come in, like, wow, look at this place. It's bright, it's clean, it has everything that I need. Consumer is king. Be able to provide them a friendly environment and a place to shop, no matter where they are, whether they're down here in Saratoga or whether they're up in Queensbury. You're always going to get the same experience when you shop at Bev's. At the end of the day, if you walk in your stores, you're going to see a lot of people that have a lot of pride.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpin House.
Okay. The WNBA season has just started, and it started with absolute fireworks between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the Indiana Fever, Chicago Sky. And I love it because I think you have to just on the surface, and we can get into the deeper issues here, which are racial, but I love it because anytime a sport is going to truly ascend, you need rivalries.
Yep.
And look, team rivalries are great, but personal rivalries are even better. And rarely, Ash, do we see personal rivalries rise to the level of what we have here between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And this goes back to when they were juniors in college.
Yep.
And LSU played Iowa for the women's national championship.
Yep.
And then they met again a year later as seniors, right? And Iowa ended up beating LSU. I think I'm remembering my history correctly here, down at the Times Union, or at the MVP Arena, right? So it goes back to the John Cena, you can't see me. It goes back to the pointing at a ring. There is so much here that if you're just jumping on board, if you're just seeing this and trying to catch up, this goes back now, 4 years.
Yep.
And I think it's good for the sport. I get that it's ugly on a social level, and we'll talk about that, but it's good for the sport because it's, again, what is it doing? It's bringing more people in. And if it's raising awareness to how great these players now are in the women's game, it's good for the sport.
Yeah. And I always think people say that even bad news, bad coverage is a good thing.
I see.
And in this case, I agree. I think even if it's, we're not talking about the game, because we're really not talking about the game. We're talking about a play that happened in the game that created a little bit of a kerfuffle, we'll call it, not even a big deal. And it just gets so blown up and blown out of proportion because of the two people that you're talking about, the history that they have, the reaction that happened on the floor. And I think it's great. When is the last time pre-5 years ago that anyone gave a you-know-what about something that happened in a WNBA game this much?
No. And all of this is, I'm going to answer Alonzo's question here, who's watching. Alonzo, Rampage coming up in about 10 minutes. So hang with us. To me, it's the reaction, but the reaction is rooted in what feels
the
like
history,
maybe hatred. I mean, certainly jealousy, but it's hard to throw around the word hate, but it feels like there could be like some real hatred here. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that Caitlin Clark gets 99% of the credit for elevating not just the WNBA,
women's college basketball,
but women's sports even, right? Where we're like viewing Caitlin Clark as, oh my goodness, she is the face of female athletes overall. And there's jealousy that comes with that. And it may rise to the level of like hatred here.
Yeah.
And is it because she's white? Is it because she plays the game from a female side of things differently than we've ever seen before? Yes to both, I think, right? The way she gets credit for this and the way the media covers her. But I would say this to people who are defending Angel Reese and giving her credit here. And I would say this to Angel Reese, who isn't watching and will never hear this. It's not because of you. If Angel Reese were the number 1 pick 2 years ago, the WNBA would not be selling out large arenas the way it is now. Teams still may not be flying privately the way they are now since Caitlin Clark joined the league.
Well, and some of that is
TV ratings would not be what they are now.
Yeah.
This is the Caitlin Clark effect. And I think what's frustrating is the unawareness or the unwillingness to not just accept it, but also celebrate it. Like, we've talked about this. This is Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods changed golf ratings.
Mm-hmm.
He changed golf purses. And so if there was jealousy and maybe even, well, there's a racial component there with Tiger too, going back to the 90s, right? Where golf was predominantly white, and it still is. That if there was jealousy and maybe even hatred back in the 90s when Tiger was elevating golf as a sport, there should have been, and I think there was, an appreciation for what he was doing overall. Like, I get that the salaries in the WNBA aren't where we all think they should, but if they get there, it will be because Caitlin Clark brought such a level of popularity to this sport that should be celebrated. And we should recognize that, like, hey, I'm getting paid more now. More people are buying my jersey. More people are buying tickets. More people are watching on TV because Caitlin Clark. That's okay. You can still be jealous of that and wish, oh boy, that would be nice if it were me. It would be nice if I got mentioned more. It'd be nice if people recognize me more. But guess what? Your sport is thriving because we have entered a new era here. I don't know.
Yeah, here's the deal. I think we're giving Caitlin Clark a little too much credit in terms of salaries. Like, the things that have happened recently are a product of Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Stewie, and people who have behind the scenes worked with the players union to fight for things and have been vocal and outspoken. And listen, going back to the WNBA has had females who have been willing to stick their necks out for racial injustice, any kind of injustice. Yeah. They have been the first and some of the only to do it. Now, there have been people on the U.S. soccer team and things that have happened since, but so much of what has happened as a movement in this country started with the WNBA and females just thinking, like, you know what? I don't make enough for this. So, like, I'm just going to use my platform and make a statement, and whatever I get paid, I get paid. But now there is power behind some of what they do. And that's not all Caitlin Clark, but it certainly helps. And yes, the reason that people are watching the sport more is because of Caitlin Clark. The reason that people know who Angel Reese is and watch her games is partially because of Caitlin Clark, because she has people watching the league as a whole. She probably deserves more credit because she's one of the better players to come out of college in the last few years. But at the end of the day, Caitlin Clark plays the game differently than she is what Jimmer Fredette was when Jimmer Fredette was a big thing. Like, and had all of that attention. It's just been a lot longer lasting.
Yeah. I think it sounds like I'm negating what has come before Caitlin Clark, and I'm not. There's a bedrock of great players. But look, there was Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer before Tiger Woods. Who drove ratings in golf? Tiger Woods. Ben Hogan, great play. And Arnold Palmer, I know a lot of people, golf historians out there, will say, well, Arnold Palmer really started the TV age of golf. And I wasn't around for it. I was happy to. Doesn't matter. There was nothing like the Tiger effect. And I'll say it, there's nothing like the Caitlin Clark effect. I know there have been great players. Sabrina Ionescu, who I love, played the game differently than we had seen it before in her triple doubles and what she was able to do on the court. People didn't watch women's college basketball and the WNBA because Sabrina Ionescu was playing the game differently. There's just been something about the gravitation towards Caitlin Clark that has changed the equation here. And, like, I'm sorry if that angers you or bothers you or offends you in some way, but
no. And I also think there's some Sabrina Ionescu, and this is going to Sabrina Ionescu is a likable, smiley, says all the right things kind of girl. Caitlin Clark likes to stick the knife in a little bit, twist it a little bit. She's loud. She's fiery. She talks back.
Yes.
And that is the difference. That is why she has fanned the flames, because of her personality. And I have absolutely no problem with it. But she is the Draymond Green, essentially.
Ooh, Angel Reese is the Draymond Green.
Sort of. But she still has the same qualities as Draymond. And that's why people talk more about her than they do Sabrina Ionescu.
Okay.
Because Sabrina Ionescu has so many of the same basketball qualities. She doesn't shoot from 70 feet all the time. But so many of the same qualities. Looks like Caitlin Clark. Just the way they go about things is different, and that has made all the difference.
Yeah, Ionescu may actually be a more skilled basketball player. The shooting is obviously what gains so much attention. And I'm glad you said that about Caitlin Clark is not innocent.
No.
In all of this,
no, but that's why
means.
This has that's why this has happened. Because you have two people who are I would say very similar personality-wise in Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. They are very similar, and I think or they're like oil and vinegar, and they, you know what I mean? Oil and water. They don't mix. Like they're similar enough.
But they both have that kind of.
They're edgy. They're competitive.
I like that. Edgy properties. Yep.
But it's also, people are talking about it because it's two females, and people don't whatever.
Go ahead. Yeah.
People don't love to see two females bicker and have a personality and be.
We question whether or not women are allowed to, fight.
Yep.
or
and they're not even fighting.
Or celebrate the way we see NBA players do it. We question is that unladylike?
Yeah.
I mean.
But I laugh. Here's the deal. It was a basketball play. At the end of the day, it was a basketball play. It wasn't flagrant. It wasn't. But Angel's reaction and then Caitlin's reaction to Angel's reaction, I think what drove Angel Reese crazier? The fact that Caitlin Clark didn't give two you-know-whats about Angel's reaction and just sort of tried to walk away. She wasn't going to get, and leave. I guarantee that makes Angel even more crazy than if Caitlin had come back and gotten her face. She probably would have preferred she got in her face.
I also think it was just kind of a basketball. It was a hard foul.
Yeah.
And people, I've probably gone back and watched this, the Zapruder film. It's a two-handed shove in the back from Angel Reese.
Right, before she gets
the rebound. You see Caitlin Clark motion to the referee hey, are you going to call that? Mm-hmm. No, I'm coming over here to make sure she doesn't get an easy two.
Yeah.
It's part of basketball. Jennifer weighing in here, Angel Reese is a bully. Maybe. And there's
I think Caitlin Clark's a little bit of a bully.
Yeah, there's bully ball that comes in basketball that's not necessarily always a bad thing. Again, I think it's good for the sport.
I think so too.
It creates conversation. What I always hope is that it creates respectful conversation. And of course, on social media, it hasn't necessarily
nothing is respectful on social
media.
Been
doing that. But they're both really good players and they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
All right, Rampage Jackson is next on the show here. We're going to take a minute break, and then the UFC MMA legend will join us about a new fight night he has coming up this Memorial Day weekend. Back right after this.
Life is about making memories. It's about sharing special moments with those we love and cherishing those moments forever. So whether you're gathering the family around a new patio set or grilling a meal they'll never forget, we can help you design a space that is as beautiful and as special as the memories you create. Visit Alpenhaus on Route 30 in Amsterdam and Clifton Park Center, and let us handle the heavy lifting. Take advantage of free local delivery and we'll haul away your old grill or patio furniture.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on. For cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair, you can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Border Brawl, Sunday night, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Canadian-U.S. border. On the Canadian side of things, so the Niagara Falls Convention Center, RE, that's how you know it's on the Canadian side of things instead of ER. Rampage Jackson is our guest here on Onorato and Miller. Quinton, man, thanks for taking the time with us here in Albany, New York on the NBC. This is being held in Canada. You've had a long career of fighting. What is the strangest place you've found yourself in a fight, either sanctioned or unsanctioned?
Wow, that's a good question, brother. The strangest place I ever found myself in a fight.
You know, like for me, it was like, you know, the schoolyard by the flagpole, 3:00. You know what I mean?
Oh, I remember the strangest place when I was a kid. There used to be some woods and a ditch behind my house where my grandmother lived, and I was back there playing, and some older boys was back there smoking grass, and they was messing with me. I told them I thought I owned that land because we grew up there, and I told them get out of my backyard. They were like, "You don't own this land. Nobody owns this land." And those two older guys beat the crap out of me.
They beat you up.
I was a kid.
Yeah. When did you get the reputation as being the guy nobody wanted to mess with?
Probably around about 8, 9, 10 years old. I grew up around the older people, but I knew how to fight. Even though those guys were older than me, I didn't back down.
All right, scale to 1 to 10. Looking at me, I'm a news anchor in a suit and a tie. How tough do I look?
You don't look too tough, but that don't mean anything. You might know some martial arts.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. I learned don't mess with high school wrestlers because they'll put you in a pretzel. They may not look like the biggest guys, but they're the toughest. All right, here's the deal. Border Brawl is happening Sunday, 5 p.m., and it's streaming on the free platform, and it is streaming live on Zonify. Quinton, man, tell us about this collection of talent and the idea to put the U.S. and the Canadian side of things together in a fight.
I think that's a great idea, what's going on in the world and stuff right now. You know, make light of it, enjoy, get some entertainment out of it. I kind of think about this sometimes. Say we have problems with other countries and stuff like that. Instead of doing war, let's just do stuff like this. Whoever wins, wins. You know what I'm saying? Let's put on a fight. Let's put on a pro wrestling event. You bring your toughest guy, we bring our toughest guy. Nobody got to die. Nobody got to suffer. Let's do it.
Yeah, and there's something fun, too, about the U.S.-Canadian rivalry, right? Like we saw it was so successful with the Four Nations hockey tournament a few months ago. And now, obviously, we're doing it here. What have you noticed about just the sharing a border together and one maybe, kind of comparing itself to the other, why it sets up perfectly for what you guys are doing with Border Brawl?
Well, it's almost like we're almost kind of like cousins or distant brothers, you know what I'm saying, a family. You're going to be a little competition here and there. And I think this is great. I think it's good fun. Hopefully it can bring us together a little bit better.
I like that. 5:00 Eastern, again, streaming live on Zonify, zonify.tv, and it's on the screen right now with our guest, Quinton Rampage Jackson. You're a former UFC champ. You've been in TV shows and movies. Give me what is something that you've enjoyed in your life that maybe was unexpected?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of things. I'm a big kid, brother. I enjoy like a lot of things. But, here and there, you never expect to, I never expected to have things that I do. But off the top of my head, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I can't think about something that I enjoy.
Well,
I enjoyed a lot of things.
I remember seeing you play that character that Mr. T made so iconic. But then when I watched you play, it could have been Rampage all along who was B.A. Baracus.
Oh yeah, I grew up acting like B.A. Baracus my whole life, so that was real easy for me. I got to be a big kid for 6 months, I'll tell you, because some of the other characters, the guy that played Murdoch, Chateau Copley, he was a big fan of 18 too. So the whole time for 6 months, him and I never broke character, whether the camera was on or not. So that was like one of the best times of my life. Yeah,
man, you're starring alongside guys like Liam Neeson and Bradley Cooper. I mean, That's pretty darn cool, man, for a guy who obviously made his name in the mixed martial arts world. All right, again, 5 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, May 25th. It's called Border Brawl, and it's streaming live on Zonify. This is mostly a sports podcast, and I know I've got to let you run. Where are your strongest sports allegiances among teams? I know you were born in Memphis. Do they still lie there, or what are your squads?
Yeah. But I still rock with Memphis. But on hockey, I'm with the Ducks because I'm out there in Orange County with the Anaheim. So
All right, so the Grizz and the Ducks for Rampage Jackson. Hey, we appreciate the time, man. Good luck with this, and hopefully it's the start of a real rivalry here that we have on Border Brawl and Zonify. Rampage, thank you, man.
No problem.
I'm Jeff Ukelek. I'm owner of Bev's, and we're a beverage center in upstate New York. You're just going to have that wow component when you come in, like, wow, look at this place. It's bright, it's clean, it has everything that I need. Consumer is king. Be able to provide them a friendly environment and a place to shop, no matter where they are, whether they're down here in Saratoga or whether they're up in Queensbury. You're always going to get the same experience when you shop at Bev's. At the end of the day, if you walk in these stores, you're going to see a lot of people that have a lot of pride.
The great thing about Novices, no matter who you are, they're going to put all the detail in the world into your brand. I feel like they have been a big part of my success, making me feel comfortable. This is Harrison Butker, Super Bowl champion kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Claim your crown.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alphen House.
We're getting the news we all kind of figured
Oh, we did it again.
we would get.
I love that.
And that's the college football playoff is quickly realizing its mistake.
The error of its ways.
In its first year of expanded play, and that being 12 teams. And so college football playoff is correcting that. We've got that coming up here in a little bit on Onorato and Miller. But the Tush Push lives. The proposal to ban the play fails by 2 votes at the owners' meetings this week. And a previous vote was tabled back in March, or April, maybe even, when the owners' meetings were happening in Florida. Now they're in Minnesota. Actually went to a vote here. Looked like the support was going to be there, but it fails 20-10 after an impassioned presentation by the Eagles organization, which included bringing Jason Kelce into the mix.
He's convincing.
And into the room. Reports are that this presentation lasted more than an hour to NFL owners to try to swing them to keep the Tush Push. What I find interesting about that mostly is that when Jason Kelce retired on his podcast, he called the Tush Push the most dangerous play in football. And that he was so glad he didn't ever have to run that play again. Now, here he is a year and a half later or so saying we've got to keep the Tush Push in the game. Or at least what the Packers amended this proposal to be was no aiding of any ball carrier on any part of the field, which I'm in favor of. 20 yards down the field, I don't love the idea of linemen or other players coming up from behind at full speed and shoving guys forward another 5-10 yards. I get that defenders can gang up on a ball carrier. Let's just play rugby then, right? If everybody can just start pushing and pulling, we already have that. That's called rugby. You know that I am in favor of banning the Tush Push. Mm-hmm. The other piece of information that came out is that the NFL apparently put the Packers up to this. The NFL went to Green Bay. There is no singular owner for the Packers. Went to the Packers organization and said, we don't want this play. Our rules committee doesn't want this play. Our medical committee, safety committee doesn't want this play. We need you to put this up for a vote to try to push this, if you will, through. And so Green Bay ends up looking like the sore losers in all this because they can't beat the Eagles and all this stuff. But it appears the NFL put the Packers up to it. Anyway, I know you are. I think this is now the last season we see of it. 22-10.
I'm sure
Awfully
you're
close.
only 2 votes.
My guess is next year they will eliminate the play.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you know me. I've been pretty vocal about it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
in favor of it. Figure out a way to stop it. I don't know. It feels you can't come up with another hokey, kitschy like play that to compare it to. And I'll work on doing that, but there have been other things that have been very difficult to stop that people have figured it out in the past. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, back to 2014, you weren't allowed to aid a ball carrier. They changed that. I think at some point we will go back to that, where you're not allowed to help a ball carrier advance down the field. But yeah, correct. There's only one team that does this so well. The Bills are second, and not even all that much of a close second. And I do wonder, like, yeah, if the Eagles were really good at this play, but they
weren't in the playoffs,
4-13,
wouldn't matter.
Would people care as much?
No, of course not.
When it's the first touchdown of a Super Bowl, I think that's when the league says, okay, we're good here.
But listen, you lose linemen like Kelsey, and you have to figure out how to do it with other players. There's no guarantee that they're as good at it this year as they were last year.
I think as long as Jalen Hurts is healthy.
I get it, but are they going to be as good as a team? And so then do you go back to it not really mattering if they're not playing in Super Bowls? And
I see.
Yeah, I don't think people care as much. People don't like a winner if they think it's because of something that's like an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. There is no unfair advantage. No one is stopping you from doing it. And that's my thing. No one is stopping you from doing this. Go ahead and have at it. Figure out how to do it well. And that's what I always say, go do it. Find a quarterback who can do it. Find some linemen and a fullback who can push them. Go do it. If you're so jealous, we use the word jealous a lot. Just figure out how to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of teams don't have a quarterback, right, who can do the things Jalen Hurts can do. A lot of teams don't want to risk.
I get it.
Putting their quarterback in harm's way in this way. But yes, to your point, and it's I get it. The Eagles are doing this better than anybody else. They are better equipped from a personnel perspective to do this better than anybody else.
And they may have done that on purpose. There may have been, I'm sure there were, very active choices to say, these are the guys to put in these positions to make this work.
We have a quarterback who squats 650 pounds. You don't. Let's go.
Yeah. But I say, there are plenty of people who throw the ball better than Jalen Hurts. So do that. Play to your strengths. Yeah. They're playing to something that they feel like is a strength, obviously, and it's working.
Yeah. How about this? The Bills are the only NFL team going into next season favored to win every game on their schedule. Chiefs and Ravens are favored in every game on their schedule, other than the times they have to go play at Buffalo.
Interesting.
These are the top 3 teams in the AFC.
Yep.
I don't know that it'll finish that way. There are questions about Kansas City's longevity here, but I thought this was kind of interesting, especially because when you finish first, you then the next season play a first place schedule. And so the Bills are, in theory, playing a very difficult schedule, but also favored to win each and every single one of those games. Yeah. Helps, obviously, when you get the Chiefs and Ravens at home. They won't win every game.
No, and they'll lose more than they should. Ooh. I'm surprised that they're favored to win every game. To be quite honest with you.
And
you're KC or Baltimore or something. Yeah.
Because you're at home and that's the way things go. But just kind of thought that was interesting. Brock Purdy and the Niners have a deal. It's a 5-year, $265 million extension. The real number is that 181 you see on your screen. And so it's effectively a 4-year deal in a lot of ways is how it's being pegged. full no trade clause, first contract in franchise history for the 49ers that a player has been given a full no trade clause. $53 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
I remember last year you were like, I can't believe the Packers are paying Jordan Love. I can't believe the Jaguars are paying Trevor.
And
I
can't believe that they're going to pay him this.
So Purdy at $53 million a season, that ranks 7th highest in the NFL, tied with Jared Goff. Who would you rather have, Goff or Purdy?
Probably Goff, to be honest. Purdy's younger, so I would take him for like the long haul. But yeah, probably Goff.
Yeah, I'm surprised to say probably Goff. For me, it's not even a question. It's Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff's a real.
The only reason I take Purdy is because he's younger.
Okay.
Goff's not young.
No, but he's such a better thrower of the football, to be really scientific about it all. And both guys are surrounded by incredible talent. It may not be the case in San Francisco for too much longer. Like, in my mind, I think that window has already closed unless they they really retool this thing. But they're anteing up. Like, Purdy gets the extension. Kittle gets the extension. Fred Warner just got an extension. They are keeping their guys, trying to make this happen with the current core. I would be shifting this thing down another couple of years here. But it is a contract, as large as it looks on your screen, that doesn't prohibit San Francisco from adding pieces around Purdy. Right. So, smart. There could be, and there will be, the NFL keeps saying, there is going to be an NFL player in flag football at the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
Somebody will do it.
We don't know who that player is going to be, and will it be a player that we all really kind of care about? Right. I don't know.
Probably not.
Who would you like to see play flag football at the Olympics?
So many of them.
Okay, now remember, it's 2028.
Yeah.
So don't say Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is already early 30s. We're talking he'd be mid-30s by then.
Listen, almost every NFL player, and you can play for a lot of other countries.
Did you hear?
Team USA would be gangbusters.
Did you hear the guy who currently plays quarterback for Team USA? He's like, I'm better than Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. And he probably is better than Patrick Mahomes at flag football.
But not. Give Patrick Mahomes 5 minutes to prepare and figure out what he needs to do to play flag football, and he'll be just fine. But give me Justin Jefferson. Give me some of those wide receivers. Give me Jamar Chase. Give me some of those guys, or slot guys like Puka Nacua. I want some of those guys to just torch people. I saw something on
Need Speed
Twitter and X the other day that was like, imagine some Polish cook lining up against Justin Jefferson in flag football. You're gonna get some weird stuff to happen.
Yeah, it would be great. And look, the people who have dedicated a lot of time to being great at flag football, you hate to see them just shoved to the side.
They won't.
But and Lamar Jackson, it probably isn't the great example either, because we're talking 3 years from now. Yeah. So Jaden Daniels, maybe, right?
But they won't. And I know the NFL is approving it.
What teams are going to allow it?
Good luck getting your owner to say, hey, go play some flag and tear up your ACL.
Right.
You're not going to get anybody who's anybody to play flag football in the Olympics. You might get somebody at toward the end of their career who's whatever.
Even then, I think they're going to be too old and too slow. This is such a fast game.
Yeah. They're pro.
But
athletes.
remember, you could have Travis Hunter. How fun would he be? Because he really could play both ways so well.
You're just not going to get those guys. You're not going to get them. Be fun though.
A sad note here that Colts owner Jim Irsay has died. He was 65 years old. He was the youngest owner in the NFL when he took over the Colts franchise at 37. That's after his father, Bob, passed away. Jim then won an ugly legal battle with his stepmother. You might remember that back then. Won an ugly legal battle with his stepmother over who was going to take control of the team. He got it in 1997 at 37 years old. A year later, they make the smart decision. Because again, if you're old enough to remember this the way I am, there was real debate about whether it should be Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf selected number 1 overall. And the Colts went with Manning instead of Leaf. And obviously it worked out to great success. They won the Super Bowl in 2007 as well. And Irsay, he had demons. He battled for a long time. He said in an interview, I think with HBO Real Sports, that he estimated he had gone to rehab 15 times. He had addiction issues he battled, but always seemed like a genuine guy, a likable character in that kind of position of power. And
but if you asked me how old he was, I would have told you 75.
What did I say to you last night?
I was like, oh, you thought he was 80 or something.
Yeah. I said, oh, was he 8?
Like,
65.
Yeah, he looked like he lived a hard life.
Yeah. But quite a franchise he built there in terms of keeping the team there. Remember, a lot of people remember 1984 when they went from Baltimore to Indianapolis in the middle of the night. But then there was talk about moving that franchise out of Indianapolis before Lucas Oil Stadium was built. And so he found enough success there in that city to keep that team there. All right, let's take another break here on Onorato and Miller. When we come back, we'll go to the very end of the show here, college football playoff.
Triple D.
And our Triple D with Performance Industrial. Back right after this.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
Imagine coming home after a long day and slipping into your own personal hot tub from Wellness Spas. Let the stress of the day melt away as you soak in the therapeutic benefits of the water. Our team at Alpenhaus wants to help you relax and enjoy the advantages of owning your very own hot tub. Now offering a whole new lineup from Wellness Spas, featuring models from their City Life and Peak Life lines. Alpenhaus Pools and Hot Tubs. Visit us at Clifton Park Center and Route 30 in Amsterdam.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpenhaus.
All right, taking it up to the end of the show here on Onorato and Miller, Alpenhaus, Bev's, Marcella's, Novice, and
now, dirty, difficult, and done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
Bill Miller, his great crew at Performance Industrial, back with another season for Men Wear Pink and his traveling golf league. 10 golf courses around the capital region over the course of 10 weeks.
Cool.
You sign up a foursome. It doesn't have to be the same 4 people every single week.
That's nice.
You bring clients, you bring friends. It's all for a great cause. Check it out.
It's cool.
On Performance Industrial social media.
This weather stinks.
Yeah.
We haven't had
Which
a lot
means
of
we
great
have to be in for a nice,
summer?
dry, warm summer.
I don't know. We've gotten nothing in the spring.
This was a big surprise when you caught it on social media Wednesday night. Kayla Trainer, who's a great player at Niskayuna and a great player at Syracuse, and won a national championship as an assistant coach at Boston College, had what we thought was her dream job. And maybe it was the dream for the amount of time she had it, 4 years at Syracuse, leaves the Orange to go to Penn State. Make this make sense.
I can't make any of it make sense. None of it makes sense to me. I saw it and I thought, something is wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but something is wrong because she is a top 3 player all time at Syracuse, 100%. Okay. I mean, when she left there, she, I believe, led them in scoring and was second in goals.
Katie Rowan is the name a lot of people know.
Yeah. And since then, there have been people who have come through and done more. But Alyssa Murray, 3-time Tewaaraton finalist, never won it, I don't believe. But when you put up those kinds of numbers at that program and you are you're synonymous with the Syracuse lacrosse name, you then go take over that program from Gary Gate. You think like, this is it. She's going to go win a title here. Yeah. And the fact that this season was rough. It's as rough as it's ever been. It was her worst season as a head coach, but it's probably their worst season in 10 years, 10-9. I mean, they lost to Boston College 17-2 in a game.
Okay.
BC's a number 2 overall team at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're expected to be a top 10 program, like you can't score 2 goals. You can't score 2 goals against any team on the planet. Siena, you couldn't be Siena and score 2 goals against Boston College and feel like it was good. Like, it's not what it was meant to be, but still, they would have kept her forever. I really believe that. They would have kept her forever. Because the 10-9 wouldn't have carried over to next year or multiple years after. She can recruit. For me, why Penn State? She vacated a job that just became the most coveted job in women's lacrosse. And it's not even close.
Will it be Katie Thompson? We'll see.
So, yeah, a lot of names getting thrown out there. Katie Thompson is on the list.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's not the first time her name was on that list.
Right. The college football playoff is figuring it out quickly. And I don't get upset with people who make mistakes. I get upset with people who make mistakes and know that this is a mistake, but we'll just keep doing it. And so good for the college football playoff committee and whoever the heck makes these decisions. I don't even know. Straight seeding next year.
Thank God.
Good. Because it was a disaster last year. What a mistake to be giving some of these teams a bye.
Ridiculous.
Now
they all lost.
So the top 4 ranked teams earn first round buys.
Smart.
They may all be conference champions.
But even if they're not.
But if they're not, if you are a top 4 ranked team, you get a first round buy. And then all 5 conference champs
still get a bid.
Will still make your way to the playoffs.
So if you're the ACC champ and you're not a top 4 team, you're still in.
So if we look back at last year's playoff with this format, here are your seeds. Oregon is still the 1. Georgia the 2, Texas the 3, Penn State the 4. Those are your 4 first-round buys. Notre Dame, who would lose out, in my opinion, in this scenario, they would rather be the 8 or whatever they were last year because they got a home game against Indiana. This would be a home game against Clemson, a much better team. And ESPN did all the tabulations and predictions about who would win each of these games under the new format. And the conclusion the computers came to that we would still get Notre Dame, Ohio State in the national championship. So the end result may not necessarily make a difference here.
But the games might be better.
No doubt.
You're not getting Boise State and Arizona State with buys. That's absurd. Now play your way in. Get beat in the first round instead of getting beat in the second round. Nobody wants to see a bad game in the second round. First round, okay, fine.
So the college football playoff figures it out here with straight seeding. The NFL, and it was the Lions Vikings, pulled the idea of straight seeding or something close to it in the playoffs instead of giving like a 9-8 division winner a home game. It would be straight seeding based on they got rid of that, but my guess is that comes back around at some point. Don't want to say goodbye without acknowledging this. Scottie Scheffler, his 3rd career major, adding.
You were shocked it was only his 3rd.
Yes, he's the best player in the world and has been for quite some time. And
Maybe
he has
2 years.
A number of top 10 finishes in majors. It's just he didn't close the deal beyond the Masters until this past weekend when he won the PGA. Memorial Day weekend, thank you to all of our veterans, and obviously we'll be remembering the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice.